Hello everyone, welcome to another ride with Mo Allen. In this ride, I am going to race the Off The MAAP Stage 2 on the Itza Climb Finish route in Watopia. This is an all-category ride, an E ride, or Zwift Racing Score 0 to 1000. But I'm gonna race it as if it was a race, as many people do. So you'll notice that the video starts a few minutes in. Apologies, I forgot to hit record there, so you didn't miss much. It was kind of a spicy start, but settled down soon enough. Here you can see my current stats. Zwift Racing Score is still 481. After my last ride, I had said after my last race, which was the stage 3 of the Fresh Out of 24 race series on Zwift, that I wasn't sure how often those race scores get recalculated, because before that ride, I was downgraded after the V3 seed update of Zwift Racing Score. I was downgraded from 550 to 475. I believe. And then I did the stage 3 Fresh Out of 24 race and went up to 481. So still sitting towards the top of that C-cat. So here we are with this race, just trying to stay with the front as long as I can. It's relatively flat up until the last 4 kilometers, where it's all uphill on the 2 KOMs, the Mayan mountainside and the Itza KOM. But there are some rollers through here, as we'll see right here, coming up through Titan's Grove. So you see me taking my sweater off there. I'm in the garage where it is not insulated and has a lot of the cold from outside, so it was cold in there. I did warm up for about 16 minutes, but still wasn't warm enough to start without that. So after 6 minutes here, getting warmed up, I had turned my fan off, and at one point I turned my fan on, and at one point it actually had turned itself off for some reason. I don't know. I didn't check it even after the ride, but I imagine that the plug connection going into the fan just got loose and disconnected. So here I am at the back of this big group of 48-ish riders in the red here, pushing, 400 watts, 309, 310 watt average after 7 minutes. And knowing that this was, I still have 25K to go with a 4 kilometers of climbing at the end, I wasn't going to put in a huge effort to stay with the front here. So I am hovering around that 400 watts to see kind of what group I settle into. This being an all category race, I knew that there were people in it that were way out of my league, my category. So I wasn't going to try to stay with like A and A plus riders at the front unnecessarily, but I also didn't want to unnecessarily drop too far back. So just putting in a good effort here. So that was that little effort there, and now I'm trying to settle in. You see me putting in a bit of a dig here just to stay with this group and see what kind of group I can stay with. Not too concerned with the front anymore at this point. So you can see here, after 8.5 minutes, I settle in with these 4 other riders, and this turns out to be my group all the way up until the climb. At times, this little group of ours, our 5 riders, we rode this sort of as a TTT. You can see here us getting strung out. So at this point, people will inevitably still try to latch back onto the front, but that front is gone at this point. We actually do, so right now they are 3 seconds ahead of us. We actually do I think we might get a little closer, maybe a second closer at one point, which surprised me. But I still wasn't going to put in an effort outside of this group to get to that front. So my strategy now that I'm in this group of 5 is to just mark these riders, see what kind of watts they're putting out. I'm constantly watching the rider list on the right over there, seeing what kind of watts the riders are putting out and anticipating any moves. This group is surgy. There's a lot of, I won't call them attacks, but there's a lot of pushing at the front, which you can see there's a group currently 9 seconds behind us. That group, I don't know if these riders were trying to keep that group away or trying to not let the front group get too far. At these watts, they're not trying to catch the front group, I don't think, unless they're mistaken. But they do a good job of keeping the group behind away. I would have been okay letting the group behind come up to us and meet us. There we go, passing one rider there, but I wasn't going to put in any work at the front necessarily to keep the group away. So I'm just marking riders' wheels here and trying to stay with this group. I am keeping an eye, so you can see here we put 2 seconds into the group behind us while the group in front put a second into us. So it's sort of this interesting dynamic where the front group is pulling away, but we're pulling away from the group behind us. And that group behind us is rather large. At one point I switch way further into the ride. I switched to one of the riders in that group just to see what the size of the group was, and I think they were, good deal larger than us, maybe double the riders in our group, if not more. So, especially on any little inclines, I'm keeping an eye on what these riders are doing. There are some little surges up into the red at points in this group, so it was taxing actually to stay with this group, but I was doing my best to stay at the back as much as I could and feel comfortable. So you can see that group up front, they're actually 7 seconds ahead of us at this point. So we're gaining a little bit on that group. I think they're taking a little bit off. When I mentioned earlier we get closer to that group, it wasn't closer than that 3 seconds than we were at, but what I meant was we bring them back a little bit, which I was surprised by. So you can see they're 6 seconds now. So at this point I was thinking, maybe we'll catch back up to them and that'll be cool. We'll have a larger group. But again, I wasn't going to necessarily do that work. And here we are, they're 5 seconds ahead of us. But through these little rollers here, we actually never catch back up to them. And they get away for good momentarily. While the group behind is now at 22 seconds. So this little group of 5 is doing good work on both ends. So here you'll see the rider Pereira up front there put in an effort to, well, I don't know why, but they do get away a little bit from the group, a couple seconds up the road, but we bring them back soon enough, so I'm not exactly sure what they were doing. It's always interesting to try to speculate what's in the mind of some of these riders and the moves they make. I don't begrudge anyone their decisions on these rides. I'm constantly making bad decisions along with the good, so. Just noting the effort there, and then you can see here that we bring them back. So back to our group of 5. So I think at this point, I noticed that I'm at 320 watt average for 17 minutes, which is, you know, a good effort after 17 minutes, with my FTP being 333. Yeah, it's pretty close to FTP for 17 minutes, so good effort so far. Hoping that things will settle down. Again, there's still some surging. You can see someone up over 4.5 watts here in the group. So the group was constantly putting in some efforts, almost again like sort of like a TTT. I don't know if they were doing pulls in the spirit of not letting the front group get away and or not letting the group behind get too close, but I was happy to tag along. So here, as we approach the sprint segment, you'll see that Pereira once again goes off the front. And once again, I'm not exactly sure why. It's interesting with these, I don't know if it's a psychological thing, but often with these sprint segments, people will wind up through the sprints. I don't know if that's what this rider was doing. But it's interesting to note. So I'm always on guard when we get through those, when we enter those segments, just to see what the other riders are doing. So here we are again, bringing Pereira back and settling back into our merry group of 5. So here with 8.2 kilometers to go, knowing that we have about 4 kilometers until the climb, you see me check what the size of the group behind was there by clicking on a different rider in that group. That's currently 36 seconds behind us. At one point, that group was 40-something seconds behind us. And now I'm thinking as we approach the climb, is it possible? Probably not, right? With 4K to go, 4K to go until the climb. Is it possible that that group is going to bridge back up to us? And if they do, what would that look like for me? Is that better or worse? If it seems like that's going to happen, maybe I would do some work at the front to keep them away. So that was what was in my mind there. You can see now we put a few seconds back into them, so I'm just keeping an eye on everything here. And now with a little over 3K to go, I'm mentally preparing for what kind of effort I'm going to put in on these climbs. The last time I did this, I raced with my coach, whose info is at the bottom of the description of this video. And he basically shepherded me up the climb. And I had a really good climb. And I think that was at the end of a pretty long, I forget exactly what, it's on the channel as well. I forget exactly what race that was, but it was my best climb on either of these segments, the Mayan Mountainside or the Itza KOM. And all due to his name is Dan Corridor, Dan's guidance up the hill there. So I was hopeful. I had that in mind as sort of a mental boost, knowing that I've been climbing pretty well recently. You know, I'm a heavy rider, 95 kilograms, so the climbs are not my strong suit, but I can at times put down, you know, a lot of my power output is relatively higher than many riders in my cat who weigh less. So I knew that, you know, these climbs are relatively short. It's not the shortest climb. It's not like Jarvis or the Hilly Com, but it's relatively short. And knowing the dynamics of the group so far, or having observed the dynamics of the group so far, I thought it was a pretty good chance that this group wasn't just gonna fly away from me on the climb. So here you can see us starting the first segment of these 2 climbs, the Mayan Mountainside, and I plan to I'm definitely feeling it here. 171 beats a minute, almost 300 watt average after 36 minutes. But I had it enough in me to hold on for dear life if I had to. So we're putting, you know, we put another few seconds since the last time I mentioned the group behind, so they're at 40 seconds. So it seems like unless I blow up, I'm going to keep that group away, or unless one of those riders or a couple of those riders just having an awesome effort, sustained effort to make it back up to us. I knew that whole group wasn't going to make it back up to us unless I blew up. So this is, and we weren't going to catch anyone up front. So I knew that this was where the race was, and worried about these 4 riders at this point, and just trying to stay as much as I can within myself, averaging around 400 watts to keep up with this group at times, knowing that it's not straight up and in terms of elevation and or incline, and that there are periods of rest. You can see the blue part coming up here. So I knew that for this section, or I hoped that for this first section, I would be able to finish with the group here. And we're all pretty much together, climbing pretty well. You'll see in a little bit on the second part of this, ascent that I turn off the graph at the bottom. Sometimes that graph, if I'm putting out sustained zone 5 or whatever, and then it drops for some reason and there's a period of a lesser zone, sometimes that can wear on me mentally, and so oftentimes I will turn off the graph. I turn off the graph for one of two reasons: either that, just not to have the visual indication of potential point of weakness, or because when the graph is on, you can't as easily see the distance to the riders behind. So that's one of the two reasons I turn the graph off. So here we go, 5% section here, just coming up to the end of this first climb, and know that even after this climb, there's a little bit of flat and very slight incline before the Itza KOM. So actually at this point was a little disheartened to see that there was still 4 kilometers left. When we got to the top of this, I thought that there would be less than that for the rest of the climb, but I'd forgotten that there's this little flat section before the second higher inclines start. So my recon for this ride was to read the route description on Zwift Insider. So I was aware of the route profile. Also checking the mini map to the top right, the green completed section and the black section to complete still, to just see how much was left. So here we go on that flat section I mentioned between the two climbs, just trying to get some recovery in, hoping that no one tries to put in an effort to break on this section. If they had, I'm not sure that I would have tried to go with it. I'd given so there I go, turning off the graph. Given the effort I just put in on that first part and being 40 minutes in and how I'm feeling physically, I don't know that I would have tried to close anything down on this section. So I was happy to see that we're all relatively together here to start the next part of the climb. So here we go, coming up to the last part of the climb, 2.4 kilometers to go. A little bit of a flat section there before we slowly start increasing the elevation. I am probably at this point 2 or 3 gears away from the hardest gear on my big ring on the cassette. Climbing pretty well. You can see Pereira there getting away from us 3 seconds up the road now. I was not going to follow that. So staying with these other 2 riders here. One rider right behind. And just trying to stay within myself. Still try to mark wheels at this point. It's just kind of hanging on for dear life. Hate to see those little digs at, you know, high orange watts per kilogram there, but that rider I think was just also trying to hang on, not trying to break anything. So happy to see these blue sections here for a little bit of recovery. Also happy that the other riders weren't surging away on these sections. If I had felt incredibly strong, this is probably where I would have attacked them and taking that momentum into the next part of the climb. But 1.5K to go, 308 watt average and 180 beats a minute for 44 minutes. I'm, again, just trying to hang on and see what kind of effort I can put at the sprint finish if I'm able to finish with these riders in just a short time here with 1.3 kilometers to go. Here we are with 0.9 kilometers to go. Riders ahead got a little bit of a gap on me there on this little flatter section. And we've got basically just one more good effort to give it. I still am just going to hang on to these riders and try to beat them in the sprint. I wasn't going to try to put in an effort before that. So just hanging on, hoping that they're feeling it as well. Another little orange watts per kilogram dig from that rider there. You can see in the rider list, the tri-cam rider ahead of me. So 0.5 kilometer to go now, 7% here. Rider, adventure rider, seems a little stronger possibly than me and the other rider, but who knows. So here we've just got a couple more curves to go before that banner comes. You can see it on the mini map at the top there. 0.3 kilometers to go. You can see me feeling it. 184 beats a minute now. 400 watts just to stay behind this rider. I popped the feather up there, knowing that there's less than 200 meters, and seeing that the rider ahead didn't go early. I probably, again, I did this in my last race. I should have gone a little bit early, but again, I'm on the limit here, so I could have got them on the line. But great ride by them, those two riders. Happy with my effort in this ride. 313 watt average for the 47 minutes. Came in 44th out of the group. It's a large group, over, I don't know, almost 200 riders. I think so. 3.3 watt average. for the 47 minutes at 314 watts, which is a pretty good effort. Happy with it. Happy to get it done. Another ride under the belt. Shortly here, we'll see the Zwift Power and Strava results for the ride. There we go, Zwift Power. Rider ahead, just a few milliseconds faster than me, and me a few milliseconds faster than the rider behind. That's another one done. My next race will be likely an epic race over the weekend. This ride was done on a Friday at 12:05 p.m. lunchtime ride. Got a route badge there. I'll likely do the next race on Sunday if I had to guess, so you can look forward to another video then. Please leave some comments. Let me know what you like, what you don't like about these videos, what I might be able to improve. Click all the buttons to get the notifications and subscribe if you so choose. I'll continue to put these out for as long as it is interesting and doesn't interfere too much with my family time, which it currently isn't. But appreciate you all watching. Any questions, let me know. Stay fit, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you all later.